Long years ago, we made a tryst with destiny, and now the time comes when we shall redeem our pledge. At the stroke of the midnight hour, when the world sleeps, India will awake to life and freedom. Namaste and a warm welcome. I am Shivani Shivakumar
and me, Dakshith B Nair, are representing the William House for the Tech Parent Competition.
We are going to speak on the theme Making of the Indian Constitution.
To start with, let's see what is a constitution.
A set of rules written for a country is called a constitution, and these must be accepted by all people in the country.
Those rules determine the relationship between people living in a territory and also between the people and the government.
Do you know why we need a constitution? It creates a degree of confidence and coordination needed to coexist with different types of people. It also specifies how the government was formed, to whom it has allocated different powers, and people involved in taking different decisions. Our constitution limits the power of government and tells us about the rights of citizens. It also expresses people's aspirations to build a good society. Our constitution have a lot of uniqueness. Let's have a glance on that. India is a diverse country. To make a common rule acceptable for all communities in India, our constitution is a borrowed one. We have adapted the constitution from other countries. Our constitution is not came into place after referendum, that is nothing but voting. But our constitution is created by the group of people representing all the communities. Our constitution have equally fragmented the power, clearly demarcated the line between different bodies.
Now, let's go through the history of the formation of our constitution.
In 1934, M.N. Roy, a communist revolutionary who proposed the idea of an independent constituent assembly for India, and the Indian National Congress accepted this idea in 1935. In 1940, the Viceroy Linlithgow made a set of proposals called the August Offer of 1940. For the first time, the right of Indians to frame their own constitution was acknowledged and gave in principle approval. The elections to form the assembly took place in July to August 1946.
On November 1946, the Constituent Assembly was formed as per the guidelines suggested by the Cabinet Mission Plan 1946.
The mission was headed by Patrick Lawrence.
On December 9, 1946, the first meeting of the Undivided India Assembly took place. Dr. Sachidanand Sinha became the temporary president of the Assembly. On 11th December 1946, Dr. Rajendra Prasad was elected as the president and H.C. Mukherjee was elected as the vice president. On 13 December 1946, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru moved the Objectives Resolution, which later went on to become the preamble of the Constitution in slightly modified form.
The resolutions were unanimously adopted on 22nd January 1947. Various committees were formed.
On 22nd July 1947, India adopted the national flag. On August 14, 1947,
British Raj ended.
India became independent and the first meeting of the Divided India Assembly took place.
On 29th August 1947, drafting committee for the constitution was formed. Dr. B. R. Ambedkar was the chairman.
The final draft of the constitution was adopted on 26 November 1949 and it contained 8 schedules, 22 parts and 395 articles.
On 24th January 1950, Constituent Assembly signed the Indian Constitution.
On 24th January 1950, India adopted the national song and the national anthem.
On 26th January 1950, our constitution came into force.
The assembly met for 11 sessions, took 2 years, 11 months and 18 days to frame up the final draft, sat for 141 days in total, and the draft constitution was considered for 114 days.
The various sources for the Indian Constitution: the Government of India Act 1935, British Constitution, US Constitution, Irish Constitution, Japanese Constitution, Canadian Constitution, Constitution of Germany, French Constitution, Australian Constitution, Soviet Constitution, and South African Constitution.
Now, as we look back to the 75-year journey of our republic, we have reasons to be proud of the considerable distance we have travelled. I would like to conclude my words by saying a quote said by Gandhiji: "Freedom is never dear at any price. It is the breath of life. What would a man not pay for living?"